Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is a twin flame video. Can you believe it? I haven't made one of these for quite some time. I've had some people reaching out to me concerning a crisis and, sort of like scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to trying to release emotions and moving from crisis to surrender. So that is what this video is about. If you like this video, please click like. If you like this information, please subscribe so you can get notification of other videos that I will be posting. There's also a wide variety of videos on my channel. But I want to stay with this kind of energy where people have been reaching out to me and they experiencing quite a bit of emotional pain. So I want to first of all thank you for sharing your journey with me. There's information below this video where there's links where you can contact me, and it is through sharing your experiences that I can put out information of my own journey that is potentially to help you to move forward in your own connection. So the videos that I would like to link to this specific video to bring you clarity is because we have to be very clear. There is a difference between a twin flame connection or a divine masculine feminine counterpart energy. There's a difference between that and a plutonic connection. Now, I will post the links of the videos that will help you to clarify what type of connection you are in. I'll post those links below this video, okay? Because the most important part of twin flame journey or a DMDF is to determine actually what the dynamics of the connection is that you are in. Otherwise, you might be wasting your time. Okay, so I've made videos to help you to clarify. Okay, so every time I talk about crisis and surrender, I have to take myself back to 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, even 2018, okay? Because you'll find that when you are in crisis, you go into surrender, you'll stay in surrender, and then you'll go back into crisis again. Now, depending on where you are at, because if you are newly into crisis, you will stay in crisis. Now, crisis is the emotional pain. That is that pain where you feel like you can't function, you can't think, your emotions are out of whack. You're all over the place mentally and emotionally. That's crisis. And crisis could have symptoms of depression, constant crying, anxiety, can't sleep, overthinking, a lot of nervous energy, a feeling of desperation. Okay, so that is kind of the emotions that you would associate with crisis. And then once you've experienced crisis, it will take you to a point where you feel like, I can't, you can only cry so much. You can only experience desperation for so long before you start to feel kind of numb, and you either disassociate or you throw your hands in the air and say, I can't do this. I need a time out from processing this information and these emotions, okay? Because if you go back to my previous, I will also link videos below here about crisis and surrender and how to work with that. But what I want to do is I want to describe the process and what it is, how I manage myself, because this videos and the information that I put out here is my own journey. I don't follow other twin flames. I don't do research twin flame. I'm just sharing my journey here with you. Now, for me to go back to 2014, crisis is the stage in a twin flame when you are realizing that the relationships that you are in doesn't work for you. You don't fit in. Um, there is the recognition that comes before the crisis to know where you identify what is the how do I say it? You identify where it is that you should be in yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You see it, it's presented to you in the meeting with your counterpart. Okay, that is why it's important to watch my video called The Seven Symptoms or The Seven Stages, where I explain why there's seven stages. Because if this is a twin flame or divine counterpart connection, you once you enter into the first and the second and the third stages, that means that you have to follow through with all seven to complete the journey. Okay, and so the stages is like an onion with layers. You have to go, you have to meet your twin, you have to be presented with this person in front of you to show you where you should be, um, how strong, how resilient, how what your mark is, because your twin will show you the mark, the standard, the goal that needs to be achieved. Okay, and the crises come when you realize that there is a lot of work to be done. Okay, crisis is the trigger that your twin gives you through information, through meetings, um, information coming to you through different channels, because you and your twin are connected. So twins will receive information from each other, of each other, even while they're in separation. This will either come through social media, people talking about your twin, or, in the most strangest ways, you will receive triggers from your twin to let you know what the next step is that you need to take of emotions and programming that you need to release. Okay, so I love my twin. I love you, I love you, I love you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, bringing me so much healing. I love my twin and I protect my twin. Okay, I do not disclose his identity. And remember, twins can also be transgender. There's no gender specification here. It is about masculine dominant, feminine dominant, but in my case, my twin is masculine. And so I try to protect his identity while I'm trying to do this work, and I'm trying to share my journey without disclosing his identity. So it's kind of like swimming with your hands tied. Okay, so I'm trying my best here. Okay, so the issues that I have found, that when I was in crisis with a rejection, when I was rejected by my twin, when I told my twin back in August of 2014 that I'm in love with him. And he basically told me that he needed to keep his eye on the bigger picture. He wasn't very forthcoming in giving me answers as to why we couldn't have that conversation, and actually have all the information out as to why a connection or a relationship between the two of us would be impossible. So it kind of left me hanging. I think that was the worst part of the crisis, was the fact that there's no closure, and that I found myself in a place where I was hopeful and I had a lot of dreams and visions. So remember, with twin flames, there is a lot of illusion because it is a spiritual connection. Spirituality can go two ways. It can be either a very high vibrational, spiritual, visionary connection, or if it goes the other way, it can be a very much filled with illusion and unrealistic expectations. Okay, so what is important when you are in crisis, when you have a very bad day and you're crying emotionally and you have this hope and this expectation of getting together with your twin in union, living together, sharing your lives, that is actually what's bringing on the crisis, is having that expectation. And if you think about it, every time you get a trigger and you fall back into crisis, it's because you have an expectation where there's no guarantee that that expectation is actually going to transpire, that it's actually going to manifest in your reality. And that is what's causing the crisis, is because there is this expectation that might not be delivered, or completely that the chances of it manifesting in your reality is zero or very close to. And then you fall back into crisis. So crisis is a desperation. That crisis, if you think about it, will be connected to something in your childhood when you were little, where there was some sort of trauma experience, because all twins will have trauma. All twins will have had a traumatic life, not dramatic, traumatic. In other words, mental, emotional, physical abuse. Severely so. Severely so. Because that is what twins come here to heal, is to heal the wounds of trauma. If you have not had a traumatic life, then I would most probably, or childhood at the very least, I would most probably say that chances that you most probably not a twin. Okay? Because twins are triggered to bring in healing. And that is what we do in crisis. In crisis, you are being transported back to a place where you've been rejected, where you've been abandoned. And the crisis is experiencing all those emotions, all the spectrum, because you're clearing timelines. You're clearing timelines for your family, your DNA. You're clearing karma for your bloodline. Okay, so twins go into isolation and separation. That's also why there is a separation stage in twin flame, is you're not only separated from your twin during separation, but you also in separation from society. You go into isolation to take those journeys spiritually inside, to find all the places where your twin is poking, prodding, in all the festering wounds that you have been carrying with you. Your twin will come and poke and prod each and every thing there that has been hurting and that needs to heal. And you can't heal when you're out in society. You can't heal when you have demands on you. People who are wounded emotionally and mentally will retreat. That is why when you go into crisis, there is also a separation that is caused between you and your twin, because your twin will come back, trigger you, put you in crisis. You'll go into the separation and the surrender. In separation, you will be given the space to surrender and just breathe and be and experience those emotions. Crisis is about not just experiencing the rejection or the separation from your twin physically, but it is also to experience the separation and the rejection of the self, how you reject yourself and how you have caused separation. Somehow, people who are in trauma will have a side of their personality where they disassociate. You observe yourself because the pain is so intense. It's like you become numb in some way, shape, or form as a coping mechanism, okay, to be able to function. Because just because you're in crisis doesn't mean that life is going to stop and give you a break. So a lot of twins still function in day to day in crisis through having the ability that was learned in childhood from trauma to disassociate. Okay. In the crisis situation, it is to learn to feel the desperation and to recognize the programming that you have inside of yourself that someone's going to save you. People in trauma, growing up in trauma or being abandoned as a child or as a baby or having experiences where people, adults who were supposed to be taking care of you, is either abandoning you or they are the people inflicting the trauma upon the child. Those children, your inner child, is in a state of constant feeling insecure, okay? And it is in a constant state of needing to be soothed. So when your twin or the person that your twin becomes your safety, when you meet your twin becomes your home and your safety. You feel like when you're with your twin, your whole life is, everything is going to be okay. But in the way that we're supposed to be functioning in society is that you need to be able to feel okay without your twin. And that is why we go into crisis, and that is why we go into separation and surrender. It is learning how to function without having that expectation from your twin to come and save you, to make everything right in your life, because it's a process of learning to do it for yourself. Twins would have been disempowered. Twins would have some sort of coping mechanism, whether that is being codependent in relationships, which was my Achilles. Was I was tremendously codependent in my previous marriage. And when I met my twin, that is when your twin arriving in your life is the recognition. Then you see that codependency and how things wasn't working for me, and I had to become my authentic self and step into my own power and start taking control of my life, because my marriage was abusive. There was a lot of mental, emotional manipulation there and sexual abuse. Okay, so my twin let me know that that is not okay. Inside of me, I realized that being in this marriage is not okay. I had to change that. And that's when the chaos starts, okay? Because you are changing the way that you function inside with the healing of your wounds in crisis. What changes inside of you will manifest on the outside, and that's total chaos, because you are busy doing a total 180 in your life, going from disempowered to becoming empowered. In my case, it was from becoming someone who was abused and how do I say it, powerless, okay, and caught up in situations that I felt I couldn't change, that I was powerless to change, into becoming the independent feminine that I am now. I'm fully independent. I have my own abundance. I have my own life. I'm fully functional all by myself, and I am not codependent in any way, shape, or form. Okay, which had taken me, you can say, to be here where I'm now, taken me 6.5 years. Okay, so it's a process that takes time. But when you're in the crisis and when you feel that dark, deep depression, desperation, and expectation that if my twin isn't in my life, my whole life is going to fall apart. I can't function without this person. It is to realize that codependency that you have, and that whatever you expect your twin to give to you to make you feel safe, to make you feel okay in your life. Crisis is where you admit that you have that weakness and that no one is coming to save you, that you have to consciously make decisions to put yourself into situations where you can actually help yourself and to be okay with that. Okay, that's the thing. And when I remember that I would grieve so hard for being rejected by my twin that when I cried, I would perspire from grief. My whole body would be drenched in sweat from grieving. And I knew in one part of my mind that the reaction that I have was a total overreaction to the realistic situation, right? Because if you realistically look at the dynamics of relationship, if you get rejected by someone, okay, then it should be, oh well, okay, it didn't work, let's just move on, and um, but there isn't that blasé kind of, oh yeah, well, it didn't work out. Like, for me, my twin isn't just an attractive man. He's not just another person. He's not just, who he is. There's no just about him. Okay, he's very special to me. So anything, there's also what I feel like, especially with the feminine, I don't know how the masculines experience this, but the feminine will put their masculine on a pedestal and they would almost revere him in a way. That goes back to daddy issues, girls. I'm telling you straight, that's daddy issues. So it's about realizing that your twin is just another person. Yes, you might have a lot of chemistry, you might have a lot of connection with, but it's also just another, it's an aspect of you, because it is your twin, same energy in two bodies, but is also having just a human experience with human limitations. Okay, so crisis is a checkpoint for how unrealistic is your expectations really of this person who is supposed to be giving you something that would fix it for you somehow. It doesn't, in our reality, it doesn't work that way. Now, in the crisis, I remember I felt like if there was separation between me and my twin, and when I was in deep crisis, severe crisis, very stressful, that it felt I had no place where I belonged. I felt I had no sense of belonging because my twin felt like home. My twin felt like was my anchor and my foundation. And when he wasn't there, or when there wasn't any communication, or when there was separation, it felt like I had no foundation. I felt like I was floating and I had no control over my life. over my emotional state. I had no control over me. And I hated that. I resented the fact that I didn't have control, which made that crisis so much worse, because I would turn on myself and say, well, why do I have to be like this? Why can't I have my self together? I wanted to say another S word there, but why can't I keep myself together? Why do I have to fall apart? What makes this person so important and so, that could have this power over me to break me in 1,000 pieces by just not, by ignoring me? And that anger and that frustration was self-directed, was directed at myself, because I wanted to be in a certain way. But I felt incapable of it because I wasn't empowered. I had to first find out my own psychological makeup, and that's I felt like one of my biggest breakthroughs that I had was when I was in psychotherapy in the beginning of from the beginning, I think it was February 2018 till June 2018. I was in counseling, okay, and I was diagnosed complex post-traumatic stress disorder, okay, and the powers that be decided that my case wasn't severe enough, and therefore further treatment was terminated, but at least I had the information to help myself, okay? So when you go into crisis, it is about taking the steps, making the phone call, making arrangements to get help, to put the pieces to help you to empower yourself in some way, shape, or form. I feel that's very important. And it's to recognize the triggers. What triggers you into crisis? And then when you are in crisis, crisis is a point where you process information, and you also process emotions. And it's very important to allow yourself time to cry, to vent, to put it all out there. If you look at my YouTube channel, and like sometimes I would watch those videos and I would cringe, watching myself, and I refuse to take those down because this is my journey. I know that there's a lot of people going through this, and I want to let you know that you're not alone. And if you have any thoughts of suicide, or you're suffering from severe depression, I'm asking you, please, because especially in crisis, these crisis is your trauma being triggered, and it will put you in depression. It will give you suicidal thoughts. It will take you to very dark places. Okay, crisis is also associated with dark night of the soul. I made 3 dark night of the soul videos, 1, 2, and 3. Watch them in sequence, and you can see. You will also see the dates of the videos that I posted. You'll see the progression from me literally falling apart, really struggling to keep myself together emotionally, and just talking about what I'm going through. Okay, so that I feel is important, and I feel to a certain extent my channel was also an outlet, sharing my journey, because I've been in separation. I've been in isolation, active, deep isolation for now 6.5 years. Okay, and my deep isolation is partly to heal, okay, because that's where we heal, is when we aren't part of society in or groups, but it's also part of my spiritual journey. Okay, so I know that it's just a phase, but I know that this phase is necessary. So for me, because I'm doing the best for me. But if you go on my YouTube channel, you will see all the emotions, the whole spectrum of the desperation. How I speak is even different. My whole demeanor and how I carry myself is totally different. And you can see how the processes take place from being in that space of desperation and trying to understand. And there's a lot of illusion. There was a lot of illusion, my not having the facts, my twin not speaking to me, my twin not clarifying to me, even though I'll be reaching out. Okay. I had to learn about healthy boundaries. I had to learn about because of the type of trauma that I grew up in, which was I was abandoned from birth, and I was severely emotionally, physically, and mentally abused and manipulated by my maternal mother. So, because she was a narcissist, she didn't allow me to have my own space. She didn't allow, I found it difficult to determine what is my space and what is someone else's space. Okay. So partly I think my twin taught me a lot about having boundaries as to what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And he did it through being very gracious. I want to thank my twin for being very gracious in this. Very, oh, I feel emotional. I love him so much. He's been very patient with me, and I appreciate that. Sometimes he's non-response because I would send him messages and he wouldn't respond. But I would send the messages because I felt I needed clarity. I needed some information to put things into perspective for me. And I needed his input. But he never responded. So it's it was very difficult for me to determine these healthy boundaries all by myself. But through his non-response to my messages and trying to have a mental connection with him, even if just conversation to clarify, I had to kind of realize all by myself that I had to acknowledge where I am. I had to acknowledge that I have questions, but I also had to acknowledge that I need to be who I am. If I was all over the place, then I was all over the place. If I wanted to know something, ask him a question, I would directly ask him. I would directly tell him and share with him my feelings and my thoughts. I wrote him poems. I posted him songs. He never responded, but I felt like that is what I needed to express, and he allowed me space in cyberspace to message him until he blocked me. Because in that way, when he blocked me on social media, that's when I realized that he needed to carry on with his life, that he made his choices, and that whatever I had to share at that point in time was not something that he felt he needed in his life, and I needed to respect that. But it took my twin, he needed to block me to make me realize that he's not interested. He needs to do his thing, which is what twin flame is. When you are in crisis and when there's separation, there's a reason for that. It's because your energy is not balanced. It needs to balance out. You're talking about two very high vibration, when I'll put the link below this video. It is called Twin Flame Mission. The same energy in two bodies is atomic fusion. Okay, so this is high vibration individuals. These are people with very strong personalities. And if the one person is not in balance, then it is going to affect the other in a way which isn't conducive of, how do I say it, achieving something good or something productive. Okay. But with my twin blocking me, it made me realize that he's made his choice to carry on with his life. And I needed to realize that that's a choice that he made, and I had to respect that. But even after he blocked me, with the passing of my maternal mother last year in August, I remember I bumped into him in the car park at the grocery store where I work part-time. And I guess that's the universe giving me some sort of support in that very, very, very difficult moment because I was still in isolation. I'd no support system. I'd no family, no friends to help me through that, emotional chaos of having to deal with the loss of a parent, because my father already committed suicide back in 79. So, and I'm an only child, so that was basically losing my family, the only family that I had. Even though she was a narcissist, she was still my mother, my maternal mother. So the universe had conspired for a meeting, and in that meeting he said to me, breathe, stay in the moment, enjoy the moment. And my twin knows what to say. He knows exactly what I need to help me through the most difficult times of my life. So, and I love him for that. I do. He's the most, I'm not putting him on a pedestal. I know he's only human. He always says he's an impatient man. But I love him for that. I love all his attributes. And I love the way that he can say the things that make such a big difference in my life. And it is recognizing this crisis for what it is. When you are in crisis, is to ask yourself, where is my expectations unrealistic? What expectations do I have which puts me back into crisis again, which is totally unrealistic? And this is directly related to hopes and dreams and being optimistic about something that is not so realistic. Okay? The reality, my reality, even though I'm in radiance now, my reality is I am in separation from my twin. There's no communication. As far as I know, he is with another lady. Okay? And that is his choice. So my reality is I love my twin. There's no one else that I want to share my life with. I personally feel after 6.5 years, and on the 28th of May, it will be 7 years. Personally, I feel that he's the one for me. These people in this world who don't know what they want, and they have to go try out a whole lot of different things to find out what it is that they actually desire or what brings them happiness. For me, it's very simple. I know what makes me happy. I love my twin. I'm devoted to my twin flame union, my divine masculine, my light work that I'm doing here, because this journey started, when I met my twin in the physical. Um, so and this is my journey. It's my destiny. And on so many levels, I feel he is my destiny. I feel I'm not the same person I used to be. I feel I have healed a lot, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because of this journey that we've been on. I can fully say that I'm definitely not codependent anymore. I'm rocking my own show. I'm doing my own thing. I'm living my own life. I'm organized everything from my finances to the place where I stay to paying my bills to taking full responsibility for myself, my light work that I do, my YouTube channel, everything, everything that you see here in my life. I've even set up my healing clinic here at work. I'm an Elohim practitioner. So it is about recognizing the crisis for what it is. And why, but most importantly, why do you go back in crisis? What triggers you? Take it all the way back to your childhood and then bring it back to say, what do I need to heal that? Take the steps to heal that and go into surrender, because your twin is not coming to save you. They're not. Your twin is only there in crisis to point out the things that you need to fix, to point out what expectations you have of your twin to make you happy and to make your world complete. And then to let you know, these are the things that you expect from me, but these are the things I will not deliver to you. These are the things that you need to do for yourself. And once you start to get the hang of doing that for yourself, that is when you start to empower yourself. And that is when you come into your, if you're divine feminine, that is when you come into your divine feminine power. You're becoming the omega female. And if you're a masculine, then that is when you come, if you have any expectations of your divine feminine and you start doing for yourself, that is when you start to become your alpha masculine. That's when you start to become your purest masculine form. And that is where each and every divine feminine, divine masculine should be before they come into union with each other. So if you are still crying about your twin, you're missing your twin, you are like still have some sort of expectation from your twin, then I can tell you now, any expectations in the connection is the exact recipe that's preventing the two of you coming together. Okay. It's just about being very realistic about the whole situation. In my world, my realistic situation is I'm in Parakai. He's on the North Shore. He's with another woman. He has his family. He has his responsibilities that he needs to take care of, and so do I. And that is the realistic situation about this. The other side of this situation is I love him. I made my choice. He is the one for me, whether he shows up in my reality or not. To me, whether he is living on the North Shore or whether he is sharing this house with me, to me, it's the same thing, because it's a spiritual connection. I feel the connection every waking moment. I've been dreaming about my twin just about every night. So that feeling of separation that you have in crisis and in separation and surrender, feeling separated is actually causing the separation. And the only way to move from crisis into surrender and then from surrender into radiance is to tend to your wounds, pick up your pieces, do what you need to do to stop that codependency from having expectations from your twin. Okay, that's the most important part, is to help yourself to become strong and independent and step into your own power. When you're in your own power, that is when the separation ends. That is when you start to be okay with the unfoldment of your journey and the way things are. And the most important thing that my twin had ever told me in all the time, and I'm so grateful, is to just breathe. Take a deep breath. And ask yourself, in this moment, is there anything that's threatening my security? Is there anything that is not okay? I have a place to sleep. I have food to eat. I have a job. I have an income. If I don't have a job, because a lot of people go into financial crisis. When they go into crisis itself, they go into financial crisis as well. They go into lack because they realize from the presentation of their twin, or their twin showing up in their life and presented in their life, they realize the lack, and that lack manifests in their finances. Okay, so the more you focus on not having your twin by your side in reality, the more you're creating lack in so many ways in your life. It's about embracing the connection. Watch the other videos that I made. Find the spiritual connection between you and your twin. Hold space for your twin. Have that bond with your twin. Embrace the energetic connection with your twin. And allow things to unfold and be in that moment. Breathe and establish a space of safety and calm, and surrender and say it is what it is. So I hope this video helped you with coping with crisis. Please give me feedback if there's any other questions on how to, if there's a mechanism that I try to explain here where you don't fully understand what I mean. Please comment below this video, or you can message me on my email. There's an email address below. There's also a Facebook link below. You can contact me on my Facebook. I love sharing my journey with you. I just want to say to my twin, I love you more than ever. And I hope you're well. I wish you a beautiful time with your family, with your children. And I send you love, and I wish you the best. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Light and love.